welcome back to the channel and welcome to a new video. First off, I just want to say that if you're one of those that went from my personal Facebook page, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok and have arrived here on this new channel and subscribed and shown a bit of interest in videos, then I just want to say thank you very much, because that's what means the most to me. Not the views, not the subscribers, etc., but the fact that I'm putting the effort in to do videos and I'm getting positive reactions and comments and personal messages from mates and stuff, and it really means a lot. So if you're one of those people, I just want to say thank you very much. It is much appreciated. Something on the subject of that is, before I posted that on my Facebook, I was so nervous, and I'm just telling the truth because that's what this channel's all about. I'm not hiding anything, I'm not making anything up, I'm not exaggerating. I just want it to be exactly how it is. And the reason I was so nervous is because, like I said in my first video, this isn't something that I'm comfortable doing, talking in front of a camera, putting it online so that literally anybody can watch it and see it. And the thing for me is, although I'm talking to the camera on my own, I'm then going back and editing the footage and I'm seeing myself and I'm seeing mistakes and I'm like, I wish I said that, I could have done this better. But the way I think about it is that's what learning is, and it's all about me building up my confidence to do these sort of things. It's me got my focus on to get to a goal that I want, and it's also a learning curve. So when I do look back and think like, oh, I could have done this, could have said that, then I can adapt that into upcoming videos. So I was nervous to start with, but now that I've done it and I've had 100% positive comments about it, it just fills me with more confidence to do these sort of things. So again, if you're one of those people that have said very nice things and subscribed and commented and also checked out the Instagram as well, then again, thank you so much. But onto the video. So the car actually next to me is the car that I use every single day, and I'm just going to burst your bubble right there because it's nothing exciting, it's nothing even worth a video. However, it's part of my daily life because I use it every day. It's part of the YouTube channel because it's my daily, and if anything happens or I change it or it breaks down or I'm doing jobs on it, then that's channel content. So I thought I would just do one video just explaining what it is, the reason I've got it, and then that's that introduced, and then I'll only do videos on it if it's worth doing a video on it, like ongoing maintenance or work and stuff. And actually, the reason I've pulled it into the garage, one, because the weather's terrible, but two, because I'm changing a brake bulb, but I've been unsuccessful. And again, I'm showing my mistakes, I'm showing the processes of how things go wrong, and so you could hopefully learn from it as well. So when I was reversing at work, I noticed in the reflection of the window I had a brake light out, and that's just a wee tip to see if your brake lights are working. Just look in the reflection. I had to take the tail light out to check the bulb, which I've done here. However, this is the second time I've had this tail light off because I had a side light bulb out, which is around here I believe, and what an absolute nightmare that was to get off. And you can see in the past someone's had a great deal of struggle as well because it's broken the end of this tail light, which is rather frustrating. But what I've done is I've took the bulb out, and strangely enough the element inside the bulb actually looks alright. There's nothing hanging off, there's nothing broken. I've had it out, I've turned it the other way, I've adjusted the element pins to see if it makes more contact, put the ignition on, push the brake, and I can see it hanging out the side because I'm just myself, and it's still not working. But see, when I seen the size of this thing, I've honestly never seen a bulb like that in my life. So I'm going to have to order some more of those because I don't have any, which is fine because I've still got a brake light on the top middle and that one, so I won't get stopped for it, which is alright. But it's in the back of my mind that I do need to replace that bulb. So because I knew that at some point, didn't expect it to be this soon, I was going to have to take this tail light back off. And what the actual issue was, as you can see, there's two 10mm bolts that hold it on. But there's also these like push-in body clips, which just go into here and down below here. what a nightmare that was. So I put some grease on these, both of them, and in the body, and it just popped right off. So if you do have the same sort of setup on your car and you have these clips, honestly just put a bit of grease on them, so next time it will come out easier. That obviously wasn't part of this main video, it was just something I was doing before I started recording, but put the taillight back in, and what I'm going to do is just walk around the car, basically show it off and explain why I've got this as a daily car, and maybe a bit of explanation as to a bit of history about myself and why this just is not me in a car whatsoever. And the thing for me is when I look at getting another car, whatever it is, I always watch TikToks, watch YouTube videos on people that already have the car, like look at reviews and what people think of them and the issues that they have. So my thinking is that you never know, someone somewhere might think I'm going to want this car, and then they see my video and I'm going to go into detail about the things that I like, the things I don't, the things that annoy me. And again, it's just another video on the YouTube channel which includes the daily car. So the car in question is a 2014 or a 64 plate, which means it's halfway through 2014 when it got registered, Nissan Pulsar. Straight away, what I just want to say, in my opinion, whoever in Nissan decided to put the Pulsar badge on this needs to be sacked. The original Nissan Pulsar GTIR was a hot hatch performance car back in the 90s with a turboed SR20 from factory. Not this thing. Anyway, after sharing that opinion, I'll just take a little walk around the car. So it's very strange because see, when you actually look at the car, it just looks like a sort of small hatchback, but see when you're actually sitting inside it, it's actually so much bigger. Like the size of the windscreen, how tall everything is quite strange, and straight away it reminds me of a van, believe it or not. And the reason for that is because at my work we used to get 3 Nissan NV200 vans every 3 years, and I've been there 12 years, so do the maths, we've had a few Nissan NV200s. In 2021, I believe it was, we also got a Nissan NV300, and you might think, well, how on earth can that be similar to this Nissan Pulsar? And the reason being, they share the same engine, they share the same gearbox, it's the same drivetrain, and when driving it, and I've drove the van many a time, is they feel exactly the same. And honestly, I thought that was going to put me off the car. However, it's a totally different driving experience, and I'm putting all that down to what the actual interior itself is like. So before I start getting into all the nitty gritty specifications and what I like about the car, what I don't like, and things that you should look out for, etc., I thought I would just do a sort of brief history of why me, the car guy, has a Nissan Pulsar diesel for a daily. It might be obvious to some people because it's just a bog standard basic car to do commutes and stuff, but for me it's different because throughout my time of driving I've always had like a cool daily or something that's just not on the everyday roads, and there's a reason behind why I've stopped that and got this. Last year I think I had about 6, possibly more, cheap dailies, and the reason for that is because if you're a car guy or interested in cars, you'll have that buzz and excitement to drive something else, to own something else, to work on something else, to modify something else, and that never goes away. Unfortunately, that's just the way it is. It's like ingrained in you to want to have and try and experience all these different things, and that's what I'm like. So it would start off like, right, I'm having a cheap daily to run about to work in, etc. So I would look at something £500 to £1,000, buy it, and then it's like, oh, by the way, it needs this, it needs that. So I would do those jobs, and then it's like, right, it needs this tidied up because that's just part of me. There's things that annoy me, or it doesn't look right, or it's not how it should look, so I'll buy things to replace it, or I'll work on it, and then later on, because I use it all the time, something might wear out or need replaced, and then spend that sort of money. So you can kind of see where this is going, and it was a constant vicious cycle of buying a cheap car, spending double the amount on it, and then it gets to a point where it's just, it keeps going, and it's like, it gets to a point where I'm like, nah, I've had enough of this, I'm going to get another one. And then the buzz starts of looking online, finding something else, discussing about getting it, and then that whole cycle starts again. And I must have done that 5 or 6 times last year without even thinking about the money side of it. And that didn't usually bother me because it's my hobby, it's my interest, and I enjoy the whole part of it. But this year, every bit of money I get is going towards the house because it's time for me and my family to get our own place. And that's just all part of being an adult. So the transition of me trying to save money had to start with the car I was using every day, because that was the red Mercedes. You briefly seen that in my last video with the Passat, that was included in there. Such a good car, one of the best daily cars I've ever had with regards to power and how comfy it was and the spec it was. It was an E350, so an E-Class, so it was very well spec'd out for the age it was. That was £200 a month just on diesel. And when we're talking about commuting, from the house to the little man's school is 5 miles. From the little man's school to work is 8 miles, maybe 10, something like that. And then home again, 5 miles. So all in, I'm looking at about 15-20 miles a day, 5 days a week, out at weekends, maybe going off somewhere, whatever. £200 a month. So it's not like I'm absolutely ragging the car, driving fast. That's just commuting. And it was quite a kick in the teeth seeing my money go just towards diesel, basically just though so that I can show and say that I drive a Mercedes to work. I don't need that, and I'm not like that. It was just because the Mercedes was better than the Fiesta ST I had at the time for me. And then now I've got the Nissan, that is now a better car for the position that I'm in now. So I've changed the whole thing from going from who's got the coolest daily to I need this daily to save money and to just be reliable going to work and back. I actually have used this website for years called swaps with a z.co.uk, and a lot of people I speak to about it, I've never heard of it. So what it is, it's a website that you can put absolutely anything on, not just cars, but I've only used it for cars. Is you put it online for swaps and you put all the description, same as Facebook Marketplace and Gumtree, and you basically say, I'm interested in swapping for this. So Mercedes was on there saying that I want to swap for something more economical, cheaper to run, and this popped up. And it was a guy, must have been about late 60s or something, and he wanted something a bit more sporty, a bit more power, and something that wasn't a 4-door for his grandkids, which is what he used it for, whereas that's what I needed. I needed a car with 4 doors for him to get in, something cheap to run on diesel, cheap to run, you know, payments wise, insurance and tax, long MOT, and this is exactly what it was. Enough of me rambling on, I'm just going to get on with the actual video itself, which is reviewing this and telling you the spec, etc. The first thing I want to mention is the paint. So, funnily enough, out of all the cars I've had, I've never had a white car. When I was looking at photos from the previous owner and actually going to look at it, I didn't know that it was like a pearl white. I'm unsure if you can see that in the light there. Apologies if the screen's flickering because I can see that on the phone. It's just the LED lights. But it's got like a nice metallic flake through it, which I didn't actually know. Bloody hell, is that a ladybug? What's happening? That's one ladybug saved. I did ask the previous owner what's the script with the purple wing mirror covers, and he said he has no idea. So that's something I'm trying to source, is just colour matched wing mirror covers. And as you can see, they're folded in, which are automatic folding mirrors. However, it's with a button, so you need to push that and it moves, and then back in again for them to move in. I would have preferred that to be on the actual key fob itself, to just lock and then close and then open when you unlock it. I'm not sure if there's some sort of setting, I can't find anything, but the fact that it has folding mirrors, I do like that. as well as some wind deflectors, just so it doesn't sound like an Apache helicopter when you open the window when you're on the bypass. I have to say, for a Nissan, it does have quite a nice front end on it, especially with the headlights and stuff. It's got these LED side lights which only come on when you unlock the car and then they go off, and then when you turn the headlights on they come on as well. And it's also got a split front lights on the front, so half of it is a daytime running light and the other half is the fog light. It also has cameras all around the car. I'm not sure if you can see that just under the badge there, but that is a camera. It also has them underneath the mirrors and also underneath the tailgate. I have came across one issue with this whole camera thing though, and that is that when it rains or you wash the car, the drips come down and the drip sits right underneath the camera, and it doesn't really affect it when you're using it to park or whatever, but what it does affect if you've got this turned on, which you can turn off, is these little lights. I think nowadays in more modern cars, when someone is in your blind spot, it comes up on the mirror as like an orange light, but this comes up on this pillar here, and sometimes when driving in the rain, the drip is on the camera, which I'm maybe sure that's where the sensor is for it. I'm not entirely sure, but that light flickers when it's wet. It's honestly not even worth popping the bonnet on this and showing off the engine. Just go on Google and type in 1.5 DCI Nissan engine and there you go. It's not interesting, there's nothing to show off, it's just completely standard, so I'm not going to bore you with that. Something else my decision making ran me into was the Mercedes was only a 2-door coupe and it had a tiny boot, but I thought to myself, like, I'll just make it work, and if he needs in the back, which obviously he will every day, he can just open the door and climb over the back. That very slowly got very frustrating because the doors were big, they were heavy, the seats were heavy, and doing that every single day started to get a bit daunting, as well as the amount of stuff that clearly I'm always up to. I needed the boot space and the Mercedes boot was just not big enough. And 9 times out of 10, everything I do, he's there with me. So he's in the back seat, so I couldn't fold the back seats in the Merc down. I'd have to do half of it, which sometimes wasn't enough. But if we have a look at this, it does actually have a very decent sized boot, which again can actually be folded completely flat, and then you've got the room there. So it's actually, for a small car, it's got a big boot. Just referring back to the whole van thing I was talking about earlier, in a way I can kind of elaborate on that, and what I mean by that is, with certain sins of the build quality can determine if it's built in a certain way or not. So what I mean by that is, with the Mercedes, everything was quiet, everything was smooth, everything was soft closing, but with this, it just reminds me of a van, because that's what I had at work. Now I've got this, and they're so identical. So even the diesel cap, and then the doors, and then the opening and closing, like, it's not very smooth and it's not very quiet. It's awfully tinny, and it's honestly, that doesn't really bother me. It's just trying to explain something over a screen to make you understand what it's like. It's quite a difficult thing, so please bear with me or just completely ignore what I'm saying. That's just the feeling that I get when operating the car. It comes from factory with these diamond cut wheels. I'm not sure if it's an option or not. However, I should have said this earlier, this is the highest trim level of this car you can get. I believe it's called a Tecna. I might have pronounced that wrong, so apologies. So this basically is the little added extras on the outside of the car, like the diamond cut wheels and stuff. Maybe the paint, I think, as well. It's a different paint colour to the sort of standard models, but it's mostly in the interior where that comes into play, which I'll show you now. So straight away, it's got full leather interior, and the front seats are heated with these 2 switches here. It's also a 6-speed manual, which is ideal for trying to save fuel doing long runs and bypasses, etc., because a 5-speed would use more diesel, whereas 6-speed is more of like a cruiser, if that makes sense. It's got 4 electric windows. It's also got a child lock and unlock for the car itself, the folding mirrors and electrical adjusting mirrors. Speaking of this area, there's one thing that gets me all the time, and this is just my operation error. I don't think anyone else might have this issue, but because you've got these 2 switches here, these 2 and these 2, I constantly use these to open the back windows when it's these 2, because when my hand is in position, I always think it's these 2 that are the front, these are the back, and I forget about these 2. So that's just me. I'm using it wrong, but that's just a common thing that I find, is because usually in cars you've got 2 for the front, 2 for the back, and that's it. This has got 6, all pretty similar switches, and I honestly do it all the time. As expected, it has a multifunction steering wheel. This side is the cruise control, which I was so buzzing about. I did not know the car had that until I actually got it. So I use this all the time on the bypass. It's got the answer the phone, hang up the phone, the volume buttons for the stereo. It's got the change the track. It's got up, down and enter and back for the screen in the front. Just your generic window wipers. It's got automatic wipers because it has a rain sensor there. So it's auto wipers, back window wiper, both scooters, and then on this side you've got your indicators, your full beam, fog lights, and it's also got automatic headlights as well. Speaking of the mirror, this is something I actually added on. It's a Broadway mirror. I'm not sure if you can see that there. I'll try and get in focus, but it says Broadway. And the reason I added this on is because if we try and have a look, the standard mirror is actually tiny. I could barely see out the back of it. So you actually get these online. It's basically just a wide angled mirror that just clips on with these 2 clips. You just push down and then slide it on. And I've used these in pretty much every daily car I've had, but this was a must because I genuinely couldn't see out the back window, because the mirror is probably the size of those clips, size wise. So that was a must have. As you can see by the start stop button, it has start stop here, which is this button. So when you stop the car, it turns itself off, and then you push the clutch in and then it starts back up again. Most cars have this feature now, but this is the newest car I've had in a very long time. Also, this button here, this controls that. So if this is flashing and you're going to overtake, it buzzes, so you can turn the sound off here, because it alerts you that you're about to pull out when someone is in your blind spot. You might have spied this, and believe it or not, that is the horn, which is meant to be the steering wheel. So if I push that in, nothing happens, and then if I push this button, that's the horn. And when I was actually driving the car home, I was thinking, why is that there? There must have been an issue with the steering wheel horn, going from the steering wheel to the horn ring down into the horn. And funnily enough, when I look back at the history, there is a genuine Nissan invoice for tracing the issue for the steering wheel horn, and they obviously couldn't find it because now it's on a switch on the dash. And it's a bit of a pain because which I've actually had to use it today because a driver pulled out in front of me, and also on the bypass last week because someone pulled out in front of me without indicating, without looking on the bypass, and I went like that to push the horn, nothing. So I had to reach down and blast the horn, which, let's be honest, it's not a really interrogating horn, is it? Believe it or not, this is the first car I've ever had with sat-nav. I did have a 2014 Golf R for a couple of years, but I think the age it came just before the sat-nav came included. So it has sat-nav, nav obviously, and then information about that. You've got your daylight setup, so you can have the screen dark or light depending on the time of day. Back button, then this is your control for controlling what's on the screen, or you can just touch it because it's fully touch screen. On and off or volume mute. Camera button, which you can change and choose different cameras for when you're parking. Then this is all your radio stuff as well as your phone book. Down below we've got all the stuff to do with air conditioning, which it has. First car I've ever had, even the Golf R, This has the coldest air conditioning, and see, coming into summer, it is totally bliss. And also it's got dual, so the passenger can choose if they're hot or cold, and then I can choose mine. Front window, back window heaters. And something I wanted to mention about this, and what is sticking out here, is the sat-nav. So this is a version 7. The car came with, not even, I think it was just version 1 for the maps. So that's what I done straight away, is I updated from 2014 to 2023. That's the latest one that you can get, which was £20 off eBay, which was a great purchase. However, the reason I've not pushed it in is because sometimes it can be completely fine. I've done a 3-hour journey up north and then a 3-hour journey back, totally fine. And then sometimes just driving to work, the screen will shut off and it'll reset itself and go back onto maps again. And it's only done that since I've put that new SD card in. So I need to look further into that if it needs another update or some sort of issue. But again, this would happen with any other car with an SD card for the maps, and that's just an issue that I've came across very recently. So when I turn the car on in the ignition, you'll see everything's actually nice and bright, and it's got the sort of multi-screen on here which tells you everything. So if I just use these buttons, it tells me about the clutch, average speeds, my trip distance. So this is what I want to talk about fuel wise. Let me just turn those fans down. As I'm on 3/4 of a tank, as you can see. So I've used 1/4 of a tank and I've done near 250 miles on 1/4 of a tank, which is incredible. And a funny story is when I overfilled it, the needle went past the full mark and it didn't move for 150 miles. And I genuinely looked online for fuel level sensor issues, if anyone's had it, and it turns out the car is just economical, and that's what's done me so far this time up. I always put full tanks in, so a full tank from the fuel light to over full is around £50, and so far I've got 240 miles for 1/4 of a tank. As you can see, it says on the screen no SD card inserted. What I'm actually going to do is I'll pop it in and see if it starts doing the issue I was talking about. It might actually be alright. It tells you all your phones. Oh, there you go. And then it'll come back on again. And it just keeps doing that. So I just pop the card out and I'll only use it when I need sat nav. Also forgot to mention on the radio, it is a full DAB radio, which I'm absolutely hyped about because I have absolute country. What I'll do now is I'll just start the car so you can hear the engine, and you might think, James, what is the point in that? It's just a diesel. If you are looking for this car and you're looking for something quiet and smooth, etc., you do have better options. I'm just going to be honest, because it is a loud diesel engine, and I don't mean loud like, oh, there's something wrong with it. I mean, it sounds like a tractor. That's the best simile I can come up with, because if you hear a loud diesel car, people's natural reaction is, oh, it sounds like a tractor. And this is exactly what this is like. So I'll let you hear it and see what you think to yourself. However, take note that car engines sound completely different on a camera and through audio on a screen. So I've got a feeling that this is going to be so loud when it's not as bad as you think. But me, from the cars I've had, it's a loud diesel. As I said earlier, I've only got one garage bill for this car so far, and I'll talk about that because not only one, it's what I've had to do to the car so far. It also leads into a current issue it has just now. When I got the car, and this, when I say this, please listen, when you're buying a car, fully test everything, because I made that mistake with this. I drove it around the car park when I met the guy, because it was a straight swap, and I didn't drive it fast enough. It was just 20 mile an hour around the car park, and it's not until we done the deal, I got on the bypass and I hear this whining noise, and I was like, oh my god, like that sounds like a gearbox. but it could have been a wheel bearing because there is no noise, nothing, until you get up to speed. So that to me sounded like a wheel bearing. So I got the 2 front wheel bearings done, and when you do the wheel bearings you need to remove the ABS sensor, and it's a 50-50 chance that it will just come out. In shock horror, one came out, one didn't, so 50-50. So it's got a new ABS sensor as well. That job was carried out in such a small time scale, so I'm going to shout them out, and it is C&M Auto Care. I'll put the name here, and I'll actually leave a link in the description below. If you need any car work, just give them a message, give them a phone, because I was actually driving the car 3 hours up north, and I thought to myself, if the wheel bearing went, I'd be stuck, and I would be horrified that I haven't done anything about it beforehand. So it was just basically a safety net of getting both the wheel bearings done to see if it eliminated that noise. But it's also good practice maintenance, because if you think about it, how many revolutions does your wheel bearings do on 136,000 miles? It's a lot. So it was a sort of peace of mind for me to get the wheel bearings done. So thank you very much C&M Auto Care for sorting me out with that. So even with all that work carried out, the whining noise unfortunately is still there. And I'm just going to talk about that for a second, because it's good to like try and diagnose something and try and figure out like what is this issue. And the way I've worked it out is if the car is started and idling, no noise. It's only as you're gradually building speed. So that rules out the clutch release bearing and the flywheel, because if the car's sitting idle, you've got the car in neutral, clutch up, the clutch release bearing will make a noise because it's on release. So if you put the clutch down and the clutch disengages from the engine, the bearing stops spinning and the noise goes away. So that rules out the clutch, the flywheel and the release bearing straight away, because like I said, it's a gradual speed thing. So then that relates back to a gearbox or a front diff. And I've looked at the paperwork for the car. There's no paperwork to say that it's had an oil change in its life, which is quite scary because, what did I say, 136,000 miles and no history of a gearbox oil change. And that is a lot of miles and gear changes to have the same oil in it. And I'm not saying it has the same oil, because someone might have done it as like a homer, or they might have done it in a garage and not logged it on the paperwork. So it might have been done, but for my peace of mind and also for channel content, I'm going to do a video on changing that gearbox oil. And I'm going to be doing a test at the same time, because you do get gearbox additives now. It's like a little tube that you put in with the oil, and it's like a silicon based thing that apparently quietens down noisy bearings and whines and things like that. So I've never done that before, I've never used those products before, and I just want to test it out, because regardless, changing the gearbox oil is only going to do it good, and putting in an additive might solve my issue. Because the whole point in the car was just to have a nice quiet comfy daily for daily commutes and errand runs and whatnot. That whining noise is always there, and you have to turn the music up to blank it out, and it's just a car thing. And I've shared it on the channel now as part of this video, and going forward I'm going to hopefully diagnose it and solve it. And if all else fails, I do have the volume button. Just looking at the car now, I'm pretty sure I've covered everything. There is a few more little things I would like just to sort of tidy it up. Like, as I've said, I've done the wind deflectors, I've done the interior mirror, and I want to try and get the white colour-coded mirror surrounds. And also one other job I need to do is adjust the handbrake, because the handbrake is all the way up and it barely holds the car. Not sure if that's worth a video, because it's just a general maintenance thing. There's probably a million YouTube videos out there on how to adjust the handbrake, but that is a job in the car that does need to be done. I've went through the whole spec of it, the noise the engine makes, the noise, the quality of the bodywork and the interior is, and I'm sure I've covered everything, and I'll be kicking myself if I have missed something. But I think that's it for today's video. Again, I just want to go back to the start of, if you're one of these people that have recently subscribed, thank you so much. You have no idea how much it means to me, because this is a journey that I've always wanted to do. I've always wanted to do this on the camera, edit a video, put it on YouTube, and then create like a sort of history of the journey I do with cars and maintenance and building and projects like the Integra, and I'm just glad that you're here joining me on this journey. So if you haven't already and you're watching this, just click the subscribe button. And I know you know by now, subscribe on YouTube is free. It's not a payment thing. It's just so that when I upload a video, you get the video straight away on your homepage. Also, if you haven't checked it out, click the Instagram. Again, I'll put the name here. It's the same as the YouTube account, and I'll put the link in the description below. And what I'm doing on there is, for example, this video that's coming out, I'll put the thumbnail on the Instagram saying like that's the video now live, as well as previous cars I've had in the history that I've done with cars. It's nice to look back on things and remind yourself the things that you have done. But as well, I also kick myself because I just wish I'd videoed it at the time, and I might be in a completely different situation now with the whole YouTube channel situation. So that's it from me today. Thank you so much for watching. If you've made it this far, hopefully the video's not been too boring, because as I said, I've burst the bubble straight away by saying it's not an interesting car. It's not a lot of people would be interested in. But I just wanted to get a video dedicated to that on the channel. That is my current daily. I use it every day. And then going forward, if there's an issue or something I'm talking about, it won't be like, oh, that's what James drives. So I thought I would just include it. I thought I would get another video out there. And again, it's all just good practice for me, talking in front of the camera and learning. So thank you very much for watching. I appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next one.